Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are basically turning into medical code breakers. If you've ever found yourself staring at a medical chart or maybe looking at a loved one's diagnosis and just felt this massive wave of anxiety trying to translate what looks like a totally alien language, well, this is absolutely for you. We're going to take all that intimidating cardiology jargon, chop it up into simple, bite-sized pieces, and completely take the mystery out of medicine. Let's be completely honest for a second. Do you struggle to remember biology terms? You know the feeling, spending hours trying to memorize things, repeating these crazy multi-syllable words over and over again in your head, only to draw an absolute blank the second you walk into an exam room or sit down in a doctor's office? Look, it's a super common frustration. Rote memorization is just exhausting, and frankly, it doesn't really work for our brains long-term anyway. We just end up feeling overwhelmed instead of empowered. But what if there was a completely different way to do this? Dr. Pooja Yandev has this brilliantly simple yet profound promise. Remember it for a lifetime. Because instead of blindly memorizing massive words, we're going to learn the actual building blocks. We're talking the roots, the prefixes, the suffixes. Do this, and you will literally never have to guess at a cardiology term ever again. It's really about giving you the tools to understand the language, rather than just acting like a parrot.
All right, let's dive right into Section 1, Basic Roots and Modifiers, the cheese.
Okay, think of these as your foundational Lego blocks. Let's run through the essentials. First up, the plumbing. Angio and vaso both mean vessels, while ischo means a blockage, and thrombo is a clot. Next, the pump itself. Cardio is the heart, myo is muscle, and valvo refers to the valves. Finally, we have athro, which points to plaque buildup. Once you internalize these few little root words, you've essentially mastered the core vocabulary for the entire cardiovascular system. It's basically like learning the alphabet before you try to read a book. Now, check out how a simple little modifier completely changes a diagnosis. Take the root cardia for heart. If we snap on the prefix Brady, think of a slow-moving turtle. We get bradycardia, which is a slow heartbeat. But swap that out for the prefix tachy, like a fast-racing rabbit, and suddenly you have tachycardia, a dangerously fast heartbeat. So opposite modifiers give you completely different medical conditions. And the best part, you didn't have to memorize two separate definitions. You just needed to know those two modifiers. We actually see this contrasting pattern again with blood pressure. Hyper means high and hypo means low. Click those onto the word tension and you instantly understand that hypertension is high blood pressure and hypotension is low blood pressure. You are literally just plugging the right puzzle piece into the right slot. Once you see the pattern, it's incredibly satisfying, right? Moving right along to Section 2, Building Complex Heart Terms, the assembly. Take the word pericardium. I mean, it looks pretty complex on the surface, doesn't it? But let's break it down. Peri means peripheral or around, just like finding the perimeter in geometry class. Cardium is the heart. Put them together, and the pericardium is simply the protective double layer wrapped securely around the heart. Makes total sense when you read it like a map. Let's assemble another one together. Myocarditis. Myo is muscle, card is heart, and here is a super crucial suffix you're going to see everywhere in medicine. Itis. Whenever you see itis tacked on to the end of a word, think arthritis or bronchitis, you instantly know it means inflammation. So, myocarditis? It's simply the inflammation of the cardiac muscle. Look at that, you're already translating like a pro. Okay, now it's your turn. Using the code-breaking skills we've just been practicing, what do you think cardiomegaly means? Take a look at the root and think about what a suffix sounding like mega might imply. I'll give you a second to figure it out. If you guessed an enlargement of the heart, you absolutely nailed it. Cardio is heart, and megaly, like mega or massive, means enlargement. Do you see how intuitive this becomes? You didn't memorize a dense paragraph from a textbook, you just decoded it. You used simple logic instead of brute force memorization. This next one really shows just how far you've come in a few short minutes. Take a massive word like cardiomyopathy. Cardio stands for heart, myo stands for muscle, and pathy stands for disease. So cardiomyopathy is a disease of the heart muscle. You just casually decoded a highly complex 14-letter medical term. That is the true power of this framework. Suddenly, a doctor's notes don't seem quite so intimidating, do they? All right, let's look at Section 3, Blood and Surgical Procedures. So the exact same logic applies to treatments and bodily systems. The root word for blood is hemo. Let's look at how adding different suffixes changes its function entirely. First, lysis means destruction, which makes hemolysis the destruction of red blood cells. Next, Raj means bursting, so a hemorrhage is the bursting of blood vessels. And finally, poiesis means formation, so hemopoiesis is the creation of new blood cells. That's one single root, branching out to describe 3 entirely different processes. Now, what happens when we go into the operating room? Let's take the term cardiectomy. The suffix ectomy is a really vital one to know. It always means surgical removal, like an appendectomy. Attach it to our familiar heart root, and cardiectomy is the surgical removal of the heart. Obviously, that's a very heavy procedure, but it's a beautifully simple word to decode once you know the secret. And what about an angioplasty? Well, angio is our vessel or artery. Plasty indicates a surgical, invasive process designed to repair something. Put them together, and an angioplasty translates directly to the surgical repair of a blocked artery. It's basically medical algebra in action. It gives you the clarity to understand exactly what a surgeon is actually doing. And that brings us to our final section, Section 4, Decoding Common Heart Diagnoses. Let's walk through some common diagnoses you might actually hear from a doctor in real life. Angina pectoris translates to the chest pain caused by reduced blood flow. Next is arrhythmia or dysrhythmia. Adding an A or dys prefix indicates something abnormal, so this simply means an abnormal heart rhythm. CAD stands for coronary artery disease. That's the narrowing of the arteries that supply the heart itself. Then there's MI, or myocardial infarction. This is the clinical term for heart attack, caused by a lack of oxygen getting to that myo, the muscle. Finally, stenosis, a super common term meaning a strict narrowing or constriction of a vessel or a valve. Hearing these terms in a clinical setting can be really scary for sure, but knowing their exact literal meaning strips away a ton of that fear. Wow, we have covered an incredible amount of ground today. By learning these basic building blocks, you've transformed what used to be a frustrating task of memorization into a lifelong superpower. Seriously. The next time you encounter intimidating medical jargon, don't back away. You hold the keys now. Break it down. Decode it. So, what other complex medical mysteries are you going to unlock today? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep that curiosity alive.